the CBW Radio UK studios in Chelmsford, this is Off the Record with Big C and his trusty companion, Stinky Pete.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for watching if you are watching. If you're not, then you're not listening to me at the moment anyway, but you might be listening on Spotify or whatever. This is Big C and this is Off the Record. And I have Stinky Pete with me after his recent sojourn away. And here we are for he'll tell us all about where he's been, about the bikes and the dikes or whatever, in Amsterdam or something like that. But this is the season finale, season 6, season finale. So episode 30. We normally have a cut off around about 30. So 170 overall, I believe. So we'll have a week off next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks, hopefully, if recommissioned, for season 7. How are you, Stinky Pete, after your few days away again?
I'm a bit knackered, having had a bit of a dash across the Netherlands to come home, and been held up by the President of the United States. Don't start me on that one. Yeah, I'm okay. I
held up at gunpoint. Was it held up at gunpoint?
If I'd had a man pad in my backpack, then I wouldn't have needed gunpoint. I'd just blown the bloody thing up. But it was blocking the rear end of my BA flight trying to escape from Amsterdam. But anyway, we digress.
We won't. We don't want anything blocking our rear end. Is not good.
No, nothing blocking your rear end because you need an enema. But it was good. I had a very early start on Sunday, but a chilled out day when I finally got there, and worked on Monday, and then had a day and a half with a mate in Utrecht, or just outside Utrecht.
Really?
And the railway system was all to cock, so things kept getting cancelled, and I kept having to go different routes. And I thought, this reminds me so much of being at home, because when you go to Le Continent, except for Germany, where the German trains are catastrophically worse than they are here.
I thought you were going to say the opposite. I thought you were going to say
German trains. No, 20 years ago, German trains were the bomb. Now they are absolutely terrible. No, Germany, don't go there from a train point of view. But no, I was expecting everything on to work beautifully, like everything in Holland usually does, and nothing could have been further from the truth. Everything was shut. There was breakdowns. There was delays. There was heaven knows what else. So, I discovered
very much like here, in fact, as you said.
Yes, indeed. I didn't have to go on a replacement bus service. I did manage to find something that ran on rails eventually, but it was nip and tuck.
I thought you were going to say replacement bike service. That would have been fun.
It wouldn't, because I can't ride a bike. So this is the whole.
You've never ridden a bike?
I can't ride one. Jeff can't either.
Really?
Neither of us ride a bike.
Yeah. Oh no.
No. I
can.
It's a bit of a mare when you're in a place where everybody goes, "Oh, we'll go on the bike." And no, we won't.
What about one of these little motorised things? The electric ones?
If it's got 2 wheels, they fall over. I'd be fine in the States because they're not going to have an easy rider, a big chopper with a big fat back wheels. That'd be fine. Basically, a tricycle. So I might be all right with one.
So you're all right with those?
Yeah, anything with 2 wheels, it's not happening.
Having said that, the trains are probably better over there as well. I mean, I suppose they're not all great in the States, are they? I know DC. You've been to DC, I assume.
No.
Never been there? Okay.
No.
But I have, with an umbrella. And
yes, don't go there.
I'm not
Whatever
going
you
there.
do, don't mention the umbrella.
No, I've mentioned it once. I think I got away with it. But the metro, as they like to call it over there, was superb, I thought. Spotless.
Well, the metro in Chicago, the L, was fantastic. But the Amtrak trains are junk as well. And America doesn't do trains, does it, really?
No. Well, actually, New York subway's not that.
Well, the subways are okay, but they're metros. They're not trains, are they?
Oh,
the cross-country trains. Anyway.
Like the Silver Streak, something like
Silver
that.
Streak. Yes.
What a film that was. Well, anyway, I haven't been away, but I am going away next week to somewhere you've never been.
No, I haven't. I've been to Estonia, but I haven't been to Latvia, and I haven't been to Lithuania. They're on my list.
All right. Yeah, we're off to Riga in Latvia, the capital of Latvia, next Monday for my eldest son's wedding, which will be on the Tuesday. which is why I'm not on air on the radio next week. Possibly Friday. I don't know yet. It depends. Depends what sort of state I'm in and what time we get back on the Thursday. But anyway, and we won't have an off the record, as I previously said. So we're back, and what have we got to discuss today? This could be a weird one, actually. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do.
Oh, it's going to be weird.
It's going to be weird. What we're doing, we thought we'd look at riffs. Now, our favourite ones and classic ones, which may or may not overlap. I'm suggesting possibly. I don't know. But I wonder whether it's just going to be a case of us shouting out loads of different track names. Like, yeah, I like this one. I like that one.
I've got a plan. Okay.
Okay, that's good.
So when I was doing my research, I researched two things. One, I researched the definition of a riff because I thought that was important.
That helps.
And it isn't what most rock fans think a riff is. So that's one. That's an interesting starting point. We'll come to that in a minute. But then I looked and thought, right, on every top 50 riffs of all time radio show, and it's on Planet Rock about 2 or 3 times, every 2 or 3 years they do the riffs thing. And Wyatt and I always have a chat about it because he always says he hates doing those shows because basically people don't choose what they like, they choose what they think will win. So greatest rock song of all time, you don't have to do the poll. You know that Bohemian Rhapsody is going to win because everybody votes for Bohemian Rhapsody, even if they think it's shit. They just think it will be Bohemian. I don't.
Except you, of course. Except you.
So they don't vote for Run to the Hills by Iron Maiden, which they like. They vote for Bohemian Rhapsody because they think it's probably going to win. And it's exactly the same with the riffs thing. Now, I've made a list of the 10 riffs that always are in the top 2025 in any of these radio shows.
Okay. I'll have a guess at what some of those might be.
And I've done that because at some point you might mention them, and I might mention them in the end. So I've kind of parked those. But then one other thing to say on that: the last time Planet Rock did it, in the top 20 riffs of all time, there were 5 songs by AC/DC. And that tells you a lot of what you need to know about what rock music listeners think a riff is. Because if you think about AC/DC, then I love them, but they're not subtle, are they? Basically, they're based around a big, chunky riff. And then there's a bit of Angus doing his guitar thing and Brian croaking in the background. Yeah. But everything's basically driven by this massive, meaty riff based around bar chords, basically. And again, I think you look at it and you go, well, so that's everybody's definition of a riff. Think riff, think AC/DC. So I kind of looked at it from that point of view. But then I've got down my 10 favourite riffs personally. So that's how I've done it.
Okay. Crosses out any AC/DC songs?
No. I didn't say cross out AC/DC.
No, but it's interesting. It's interesting what you say there because, yeah, they are very riff driven in a way, and you said yourself they are riffs. So it's a bit weird having. Did you say 5 out of 25 or 5 out of?
But 5 out of the top 20 were AC/DC tracks.
Well, that seems, maybe a little bit daft, unless only the AC/DC fans watch and listen to Planet Rock, I guess.
Well, clearly they didn't come top because the same song always comes top in everything ever in all of history since rock music started. So
in the riff chart, that is. Okay.
In the riff chart, the same song never fails to win. It is always number one, without fail, regardless of the chart. Whichever radio station's doing it, whatever it's on, in a magazine, whatever, one song always comes first.
Okay. Well, can I have a guess at that? Well, maybe I will have a guess at that. That's not one of yours, That's not one of your 10.
No, it's one of the 10 that I picked out, but not one of my 10 I've chosen. Although I love it. So here we go then.
A riff.
Definition of a riff. Okay. A short repeated phrase in popular music and jazz, typically used as an introduction or a refrain in a song. Now,
Well, that makes sense.
if you take that definition, which I think is right, then the beginning of Take 5 by Dave Brubeck, that is a riff. The start of Black Market by Weather Report, that's a riff. The start of Tubular Bells, that's a riff
On the keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you take that definition, and you know, even something like the beginning of Phaedra by Tangerine Dream with this repetitive organ piece, electronic piece, according to the definition, that is a riff. So if you take that definition of a riff, literally every piece of popular music ever has got a riff.
Okay.
Now, I've chosen to go with the rock view of a riff, which is a big chunky, basically bar chords or a refrain, for the purposes of this podcast. But I think it was really interesting to look at it that way and go, well, that just opens up Pandora's box.
So basically, every song has got a riff. Then it just comes down to which style of music you prefer. I mean, if you know, the Dave Brubeck you mentioned so far, that's a great bit of music.
It's fantastic music, and that is a riff.
I don't automatically think of that as being a riff, although I did put down one song which has a piano little intro to it, and a lot of the riffs, as you hinted at there in that definition, do have the riff as the introduction to the song, and it just sort of carries on, doesn't it?
Yes,
intermittently, or even throughout. And one such one I wrote down was a Coldplay song, which you might not be as familiar with, but it's Clocks with Chris Martin on the piano. That
it's a riff.
It's a riff.
It's absolutely a riff. Absolutely it is.
Yeah, but it's obviously not a guitar riff, which is. I must admit,
nowhere in the definitions does it say that it's played on a guitar.
No, if Jazzy Jeff were with us tonight, he'd probably pick out Dave Brubeck. He'd probably pick out a few other jazzy songs, actually. I'm guessing. But yeah, I'm fully with you there with that definition of what a riff is. But like you, I think you were saying, you basically aimed for. There are obvious ones, and there are ones that aren't so obvious that you just like, that have got a riff in it.
Well, I mean, I've chosen songs which I love the riff, and I love the riff, and I love the song because I love the riff
too. Yeah. Okay, so the riff is, I would say, the main hook. It's got to have like the main hook of the song.
Yeah. It's what the song's constructed around.
Yes, so it gives. I read somewhere. I was trying to find something about the word riff. Some of the things that you said, I also found. The riff is the main hook of the song, giving a song its distinctive voice.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. A good riff, because my definition, and yours probably did as well, said that it's usually at the start and then a refrain.
Yeah.
When it comes in, you immediately know what the song is because the riff, the hook, is the one that draws you in.
Yes.
Which may be
absolutely with you.
Which may
We've done
be
intros, haven't we? We've done intros before.
I
can't remember either, but there's a bit of an overlap, obviously, because you love these intros, and they often are riffs.
There is.
Well, mostly are they riffs. One. I haven't got it on my list here, but I came across was Steely Dan's "Reeling in the Years."
Well, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because that is a riff, but it's not a traditional one. No. Not least of which is because it starts with a guitar part.
It's more like a guitar solo.
Well, it is. Very few songs start with a guitar solo. That does.
Yeah.
So it is. Okay, so let's try a little test then.
Go on.
What do you think is the song that absolutely always wins greatest riff in rock history. There's one standout candidate that always wins.
Well, assuming it isn't AC/DC, one of those in.
No, it's
He
not
looks
actually.
for he looks for tips. I'm gonna guess it would be Smoke on the Water.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
100%. Every single time, Smoke on the Water wins. Now,
it's a good one.
It's a brilliant riff.
Yeah.
But as Wyatt would say, it wins because everyone thinks it should win because it always wins. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
One doesn't know that for sure. What
No.
Wyatt's saying. I mean, it's like yeah, people might just love the riff, and that's why
they
they
do.
Who
They
knows?
do love the riff. And when you were learning to play the guitar, it's a really easy riff to learn. You know, da 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 da, and it just keeps on repeating. But when you hear that first note, you know what the song is, and that's what a good riff does.
Yeah.
So yeah, Smoke on the Water, number one.
I've got a list. I've got a list here of like obvious choices.
Yes, I've got a list of obvious choices,
and I've got Smoke on the Water, and it is number one on my page. So I'm grateful that is.
It's number two on my page.
All right. Okay. Oh, okay.
Well, only because
choices.
No, it's only because I thought of one which I hadn't thought of, and I added it to the top of the page. It would have been number one.
But one of your favourites, not like one of those.
No, not a favourite. It's one of the 10.
All right, I've got some others that might be in this long list of.
Well, go on then. Let's do the others that might be, and we'll see.
And then we'll see what happens. All right, I think that presumably Zeppelin have got to be in there somewhere.
Yes, but which one?
Well, I'm thinking. Would you call? I'm not saying this because I don't think I would call it a riff necessarily, but the intro to Stairway to Heaven, for example, is more like a finger picking.
It is a repetitive theme, so by that open definition, it is a riff. But no, I mean, that's that. I mean,
okay, I would say one of two. I would say it's either going to be. I don't think it's going to be Kashmir, but it could be. I think it will be Whole Lot of Love.
Whole Lot of Love. That's what I've got.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So do 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 do. What do you think Top of the Pops is about to start?
Again, it's a classic riff that everybody knows.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
And although it wasn't Led Zeppelin that did the Top of the Pops, was it? It was
no
CCS that did the version of it. Right. So hold on, I did write Kashmir as well because that's obviously got a do.
Well, more of that later.
That's one of your faves. All right, okay. Right. Oh, other popular ones. Well, you've got the list there of the ones. Have you got the ones that always make it then into this Planet Rock?
I've got the ones which are always there or thereabouts at the top of every list. And I looked at it and I went, yes, I agree with all of those. They were like, so okay, so there's
another one.
There's an AC/DC which is always there. So which of the AC/DCs is the one that's in the top 2 or 3?
Okay, well I would think that see, it's not one of the songs that I like so much for them, if it is that one, but it's a very memorable one. Well, so Thunderstruck. I mean, that's a very memorable riff.
Well, Thunderstruck's my favourite one. But my argument with Thunderstruck is that although it is a riff, it is basically the entire song. It doesn't change.
Right. Okay. Then I will go AC/DC. It's got to be Back in Black, then, isn't it?
Yep, that's the one on my list.
Yeah.
Again, ask anybody who doesn't really know a lot about rock music, and play them the beginning of that song, and because of Iron Man, probably they will know that that's Back in Black by AC/DC.
Maybe,
it's a classic opening riff.
I suppose it is. I'm trying to think what the ordinary man or woman or whatever other sex is walking on the street at that occasion. Which AC/DC song, if they didn't hear it, what would you think was the big AC? Because they never really had any massive hits over here It's a strange one.
They didn't have massive hits, but their sound became eponymous. It was kind of like, everybody. If you say AC/DC to people, they'll go Thunderstruck, Highway to Hell,
Yeah, that was one.
Back in Black.
Back in Black.
They're the three.
I prefer
But
that
Back in Black introduction, it's a classic intro rock riff.
All right. Okay, so AC/DC we've covered in the obvious ones. Right, I'm going to try another one that I'm going to throw it out there as being in the obvious list, and that would be Purple Haze.
Haven't got that on either of the lists.
Oh, really?
Nope. Not disagreeing. I just haven't got it on my list.
Surely. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely. It's a classic riff. I haven't got any Hendrix.
Okay. Okay, shall I go for another, what I think might be an obvious one, but obviously not if Purple Haze isn't in there? That surprised me.
But the whole point of it, it's just the interest of who sees what. So yeah, do another one and then I'll chuck one in and see what you think.
Right, well, I'm thinking the Stones might be in there.
Yeah, I've got one of the Stones, and that's Stone, and on the Rolling Stone list, it comes number 4 in the best riffs of all time, the one I've got.
Well, presumably it's got to be Satisfaction, although that's not one of my faves.
Yep, it is indeed. I can't get no brackets. Satisfaction.
Grammatically poor, so I wouldn't have
grammatically terrible, but I mean they've got form.
That's true. I have indeed. Get off
of my cloud and gimme
shelter. Yeah,
gimme.
Oh dear. Okay, well that was a bit of a gimme, to be fair. Satisfaction.
It was.
But there's another 2 or 3 Stone songs I much prefer, and they also have riffs. We can maybe bring them up at some point later on. Paranoid.
Yeah, that was the one that I forgot and then added at the top at the end. So yeah, Paranoid.
Paranoid, not because it's your favourite. It's just
it's just one of those 10
that's
always on the list. The obvious ones.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to throw in Sweet Child of Mine.
Yeah, that's on the top 10 list.
Oh, I'm getting some of them anyway. This is good.
Got that one too.
3
more. 3. We've done Paranoid, Smoke on the Water, Back in Black, Whole Lot of Love, Can't Get No Satisfaction, Sweet Child of Mine.
Got 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's not bad, is it? Right, then I'm going to go in with Born to Be Wild.
Not on the list, but it's a good
one. Okay. I thought that was like a fairly obvious type guitar riff, like one of these dad rock albums you get every Christmas. Yeah. It'll be on there, won't it?
Certainly would.
All right. What about then going back in time to 1964? You got anything from the 60s there?
No.
Oh.
Not in the top. I mean,
I was going to go
Satisfaction, but not in this 10.
You really got me.
You really got me. Yeah, good one.
But it's not on the obvious list. It's not on the top 10. List. Oh dear. Okay. Sunshine Over Your Love.
That's a good one. That is usually in the top 25, 30, but it's not usually in the top 10.
Not in the 10. Good grief.
Well, shall I?
Something a bit more recent in there from like this century.
There's a 60. No, I think there's 3 1970s.
Oh, really?
Not the actual day 1970. I mean, from the 70s.
Layla?
Yes, that's one of the 10.
Okay.
Very obvious. Again, you hear that song kicking in and everyone knows what it is.
Now, you say they're both from the 70s.
Yeah, one English band, one American band.
Of course. I'm looking at my right hand list. On the left hand, I've got ones that are my favourites, and maybe there's some overlap here.
No.
All right now.
Yes. That's one of the 10.
So there's only one other.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, American. All right.
Yep.
From the 70s. Then I'm going to plump for.
That's a good one. No, that is
Not that one.
bad. No, but
School's out.
yeah, that's a great one. Great riff.
It's not there. I was looking at my list from of my faves, and I thought it
All
might
right,
be.
shall I give you number 10 then?
Okay. Well, give us a clue to it. What's
Southern rock?
Sweet Home Alabama? Really?
Yes, Sweet Home Alabama.
I've got that down on my list here, but I didn't think it would be an obvious one.
Yeah.
As much as it's a good one.
But I mean, again, it's one of the most recognisable riffs in rock. It was the accompaniment to the film. It was on Con Air. You know, it gets played on
Nicolas Cage.
Huh?
It's like Nicolas Cage in that film, Con Air.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I wouldn't have seen it.
Yeah. But no, so yeah, it's in Con Air. It's in the film Sweet Home Alabama. Obviously, it's in loads of stuff. It gets played all the time. So yeah,
And
so there you 10. Paranoid, Smoke on the Water, Back in Black, Layla, Whole Lot of Love, Can't Get No Satisfaction, Sweet Child of Mine, Sweet Home Alabama, and All Right Now.
All right, okay. Well, I guessed eventually 8 or 9 of them, didn't I? Well, yeah, I did have Sweet Home Alabama though at the bottom of my list here. So yeah, maybe I should have got that one. It was also used. It's been probably sampled, isn't it, by a lot of people?
Yeah, I mean,
one thing of the Kid Rock song.
Kid Rock, and yeah, loads of stuff.
He sort of linked it with the Warren Zevon song, didn't he?
Yeah,
Werewolves of London.
Yeah, that's right, Werewolves of London.
All right, okay. So on that list of I thought were obvious ones, what you didn't have was Purple Haze. Now, if I was going to have a Hendrix song in there, well, I'd probably have Purple Haze.
It's really interesting because I looked at all of my Hendrix collection while I was doing this and thought, for me, Hendrix is a virtuoso guitarist. And so I don't really associate Hendrix with riffs. Now that sounds silly because all of his songs are based on riffs, but I always lock into the virtuosity rather than the riffage, which is why I didn't have anything in the end. I looked at, All Along the Watchtower and I just thought, they don't leap out in the same way. But yeah, Purple Haze, I guess.
Okay, I suppose if anything, I would go more for the, as you would call it, if there's such a word, riffage.
No,
did you make that one up, or was that a real word?
It. But I thought
it was good. It's a very good word.
It's a good word.
I like a bit of riffage.
Riffage is good.
Yeah, my breakfast cereal. Yeah, that's excellent for you, isn't it? A riffage. It keeps you going, keeps you regular.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's like figs and riffage. Washed down with prune juice.
Oh no!
A quick run around the park for good measure.
No, let's not go there. Prune juice, blimey. All right, so that's probably why I would have gone for Purple. If you were going to go for a Jimi Hendrix, would Purple Haze be the one you're going to go for?
Yeah, probably.
It's got a real intro to it,
or Easy Rider.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, but you do like a virtuosity, don't you, generally? So that's why that. But Sunshine of Your Love, I thought, was a fairly obvious one.
Yeah, that was. I mean, that is always on the list, but I don't think it's top 10, and it wasn't one of the ones that leapt into my mind like the others did.
Okay. And what other ones we've mentioned? Yeah, Layla, we got there.
I mentioned Thunderstruck. Because
you mentioned Thunderstruck.
That's usually up there.
You really got me. I think it's a classic riff.
No, it is absolutely. Yeah.
So good they used it again for All Day and All of the Night. I think actually.
Yeah.
Very similar anyway.
Yeah.
A very good riff. Surprised that's not on the list. Stones. I mentioned another couple of Stones songs. See, I think Satisfaction, as you say, for whatever reason, people will vote for that. maybe because it was on the list last time, as you're saying, it was on the list last time. Satisfaction. Oh yeah, that's got a good riff, so they vote for Satisfaction, rather than actually listen to all the Stone songs and find that something like Jack Flash has got such a good riff at the start. Even though it's not one of my favourites of the Stones, actually, but Jumping Jack Flash is a superb riff, I think, at the start.
I agree.
Brown Sugar, is another one, and my favourite is sort of this rolling start is Tumbling Dice. But is that? I mean, that is a riff. Oh, there's a what is it? Jazzy Jeff calls that a dragged shuffle. That's what it is. Tumbling Dice, the dragged shuffle, and it comes in that sort of just rolls into the song, doesn't it? That that intro of a riff. So that's what I went for them. Whole Lot of Love, Kashmir, I also thought was a possibility.
Well, I've got Kashmir on my list that I'm going to
Your favourite list, all right. All right. What do we want to do now then? Do you want to go through some others?
Yeah, let's talk about the ones that are our favourites. Having covered the ones that everybody covers and which are good, let's talk about the ones that are our favourites. So why don't you start and I'll pitch in and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, I've got to have, I mean, notwithstanding the fact that you said AC/DC will be in everything and they're just riffs and 12-bar riffs, 12-bar chords and repetitive, whatever. I had to look, of course, at South London's finest.
I would have been disappointed if you hadn't, and I had several South London's finest on my Colin could choose any one of those, and I would easily choose them too, but I'm not going to because he will.
Because I will, yeah, all right, okay. Well, I am a big fan. I think there are three big ones up there for me. One from 72, one from 73, and one from 79.
Okay, so
the first one.
Well, I can't remember the chronology. Caroline's got to be in there.
Caroline is there. I think ultimately I would probably have to pick Caroline.
Well, that is the quintessential Quo riff, isn't it?
That is.
I mean, that is
Quo in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, yeah.
But they had some other great riffs at the start. I think the opening riff, and it carries on through, of the single before, which is Paper Plane, is such a good riff and not that easy to play either.
That is a great riff.
It's just not that easy to play. I love that.
Great riff though.
Yeah. And the other one, which I still think is one of the greatest intros to a song, to a rock song at least, is Whatever You Want. Actually, it has everything for me. It's got that Parfit on the strumming the start of it, and then and that riff coming in, and then they both come in with the Rossi and Parfit both for the Whatever You Want bit, superb stuff. I think I mean, you could name probably 50 or so songs that have great riffs.
All their songs,
probably all their songs.
I've
played a snippet of Smith and Jones, Mel Smith and Griffiths Jones, and they had that, where they sat face to face and they were chatting. Oh yeah, what about that? Yeah. They're talking about what the best Christmas song? What's the best Christmas song ever? He asked Griffiths Jones, and Griffiths Jones says, "That's obviously got to be." And the first thing he said was, "Feed the Welsh." Yeah, you mean Feed the World? No, Feed the World. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, old Bobby Geldof. Yeah, Bobby Geldof. And he did everything, didn't he? For Bob Geldof and Live Aid. He did such a great thing, giving life to people that they'd gone past. They've got nothing left. They're just on the scrap heap, and he did so much good for everyone over there. And then Griffiths Jones says, "Yeah, Status Quo, opening the set." So I thought, it's great. And then they go through, what was that first song they did? You remember it? It was, and they follow up with brilliant stuff. Status Quo for me, and I'm going to plump for my 10. I'm going for Caroline.
Okay. Well, so mine are down in random order, so I've just written them down as I thought about them. My first one is "The King Will Come" by Wishbone Ash.
Oh, okay, these are new.
Off Argos. Argos. Argos.
Argus, yeah.
Not the catalogue.
Funnily enough, didn't Quote do the advert cut for
I
Argos?
think they
So
did.
whatever you
Yes.
want, wasn't it?
Let's-
Maybe that
let's-
was in your head.
Let's not go back there. I love that album, and it's got Blowing Free has got a terrific riff as well. That and that's really sticks in your head. But The King Will Come, I first heard done by Randy California and all of the guitarists on Night of the Guitars thing, which was brought out in the early 90s, and it had got Albert Lee and Leslie West from Mountain and the guys from the Climax Blues band and Steve Howe from Yes. It was kind of like it was a guitar thing, but the guys from Wishbone Ash did The King Will Come, a very different version, but it's just got a really, really, really good riff that drives the whole song along. Again, how people use riffs. Sometimes it's the introduction, and then the song is kind of like different. In The King Will Come, basically the lyrics follow the riff that starts. So in other words, the riff becomes the song, is what I'm saying. Unlike Caroline, for example, where it kind of vaguely follows it, but it's kind of different. The King Will Come is one of those ones where it follows the riff very, very carefully. And when I was thinking about saying, well, I don't want to pick the boring, obvious ones, so which are the ones which really mean a lot to me? And I thought, yeah, let's go with that one. So anyone that doesn't know it, it's a damn good song, and you should listen to it.
Is that the one that you're going? Are you around to request any?
I'm around tomorrow and Friday, and I will be choosing my 10. Although you're going to have to obviously cut most of them
over 2 days,
exactly, because they're all very long.
I can imagine.
Well, no, they're not all very long, some of them are.
Okay. Right. Okay. We've got Kyle out of the way.
Yeah.
Then I was going to have to, and I'm going to get off the bat straight away. I'm going to have to go for the Beatles, because not only were they great songwriters, but they also had some absolutely great opening riffs to songs that often carried on through the songs. Right. I'm thinking I've got 4 listed here, but there could be many others. All of them were singles, actually. I've got in reverse order. I've got 3 first, and then the one that I think I've chosen for my 10 songs or my 10 riffs. One is actually a strange one. You might think, but it's Ticket to Ride. That ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, that's a great song.
And Ringo's drumming is unique, I think, at the time. It's like a ding, 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 ding. It's like real tight. The timing of it is very interesting.
Quite
but it's got a great riff, and that carries on throughout. Another one is Paperback Writer with Paul and his fuzz guitar, and of course, ding 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 ding, Day Tripper.
Yeah,
which is another great riff. Now, the one I've chosen is, and 3 of these 4 have been Lennon songs, actually. This one I'm going for because it does carry on quite a bit through the song as well, and it was Christmas #1 actually in 1964, and it is I Feel Fine. That one that starts with the guitar, the feedback on the guitar, and then it comes ding 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 ding. That one, ding ding. Such a Beatley song, and I Feel Fine is a great. A lot of them. I found this when I was learning to play the guitar with Slim Nick many moons ago. And we used to I used to give him a lot of Beatles songs. I want to play this riff. I want to play this intro. And there were so many great intros. He was never a great Beatles fan, but once he'd heard all these things, actually they're very good riffs. They're very talented. George Harrison was and I love her. I mean, such a simple little George Harrison. He doesn't get credit, of course. It was Lennon McCartney. Well, it wasn't even Lennon. It was McCartney. But, just ding, 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 ding. It's sort of, what the song is straight away, just from George Harrison's little riff.
It's interesting. I mean, I didn't choose the Beatles deliberately because I knew you would. But I And I
You
thought,
need that.
again, it's trying to just not be boring. But if I was thinking about, well, what would I choose as a Beatles riff? And I kind of looked at it from the rock perspective, and I think I would choose Back in the USSR.
Oh, right, okay, interesting. I thought you were going to say Helter Skelter.
No, Helter Skelter is there's not many songs by the Beatles that are done better by other people, but
You're going to say U2.
I much prefer the U2 version of Helter Skelter to the Beatles version. So
Well, I'm
for that,
not a great fan of Helter Skelter by the Beatles, actually. I mean, it's not one of my favourites of theirs at all. It's very loud and very electric.
It's very loud, very electric, and very rocky, and it kind of pointed
It's
the
very
direction that
rocky,
rock
and
music was
Ringo
rock
got
music
blisters on his fingers at the end of it. In fact, as he says
Oh.
at the end of the song. Okay, so I've done my Beatles. What have you got? You've got Kashmir. Do you want to do that one? Get that one out of the way.
Yeah, well, let's. I mean, like Zeppelin are such good musicians, and they're just so good at everything. And you think about their great songs, and you think, well, are they all riff driven? And the answer is yes, they are. So Whole Lot of Love, Communication Breakdown, Celebration Day. Name that they've all got that. They've all got that thing in there. I think the classic riff is definitely Whole Lot of Love. But then I thought, well, actually, if I go back through all of the songs that I like best, Immigrant Song, that's another one. That's one of my favorites. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
I mean, again, very repetitive. But you can't look. I don't think you can look beyond Kashmir, because that. I mean, it's detuned, so it's dadgad tuned, so it's different anyway. And I just think that if you're talking about, and again, The Man in the Street, most people know Kashmir. They might not know it's Led Zeppelin, but they know it's Kashmir. But they know Kashmir because it's been used in advertising. It's been used in TV as as an accompaniment to things. And it's just got one of those. It's just one of those hooks, one of those riffs that just everybody knows. And so, I mean, I've got it as my ringtone. And when I was working at Hotel Chocolat, everybody who worked for me was, 30 years my junior. But as soon as my ringtone went off, they all went Kashmir. So it's just one of those songs that just everybody knows. And I just think it's such a clever riff, and the way it drives the song, because when the lyrics
Throughout,
come in,
isn't it?
Throughout, right the way through. And then, and what I like about it particularly is that there's also that break, that coda in it where he goes da 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 da, and then back in again, and that happens repeatedly through the song as well. And I just think, I mean, it's my favorite Zeppelin track, and I just think it's just so well, that for me, that was Zeppelin at the peak of their powers. So it's kind of it's a glorious piece of music with great lyrics, great delivery, but it's the riff that underpins the whole thing, and it's what everybody knows. It's what everybody remembers.
I love on that is from Physical Graffiti. Yeah, House of the Holy was on there, isn't it? The song House of the Holy, I think. Was it the album before was called that?
It was.
Yeah, but I love that song. But I'm trying to think, maybe because I've got Kashmir in my head now, I'm trying to think what the riff is. Maybe that says it all, really. I know what Kashmir riff is. But you ask someone on the street, I think they'd say Stairway to Heaven, wouldn't they, for Led Zeppelin?
Well,
if you ask them, name a Led Zeppelin song.
But they wouldn't think about that as a riff. They would, if you said, name a Led Zeppelin song, the man on the street would go, Stairway to Heaven. And I think the argument with Stairway to Heaven is that peak, that piece of music that starts off and repeats right the way through, if you take that broader definition, it is a riff.
It is a riff,
but when you actually listen and deconstruct the song, actually the riff is the last bit, where he's just playing 3 bar chords down, and Plant is doing the and he goes into the guitar solo.
Right bit, okay.
So and it's interesting because the other one that I was going to mention, not in the top 10s, but just throw in, is Freebird. because that's exactly the
Yeah.
same. Freebird's got that repeating, the song is constructed around that phrase, but actually the big riffage comes at the end when there's the three guitars doing the guitar solos, and you've just got that dun 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 going in the background. That's the riff. So it's kind of arse about face in both that and Stairway to Heaven, I think.
Yep. Okay. But yeah, another definition of riff is it is the main hook of the song, and it's sort of catchy, isn't it?
Yes, I mean it's got to be catchy. It's
got to be catchy. But on the other hand, I mean, I can think of one. It's nowhere near my list here, and it wouldn't be because it's Queen on your list. But something that's got one of the most catchy riffs around, and I can't stand it. And that's another one. Bites the Dust. That's doom doom doom.
Which is a riff. Yeah, absolutely.
It's damn catchy. But then so Syphilis, I suppose, in the same.
Yes, I mean, since you mentioned it, I mean, yes, indeed it is.
Right, on to my next one. Maybe another one.
I guess the big challenge here is: would you rather?
Listen to another one bites
the dust or have syphilis.
I'll tell you what, tomorrow morning there's a dodgy one tomorrow morning, another track I can't stand. I'm going to play on the radio, and I'll probably walk out of the room, walk out of the studio, and I'll go to the loo or something.
Go and get a coffee.
Well, it's Glastonbury, doing lots of acts that are at Glastonbury this weekend coming up. And ironically, about 3 or 4 have requested his songs. I don't even know where he's performing as yet, and that's Rod Stewart. So you can guess which one of them someone's requested, can't you?
Oh, not Do You Think I'm Sexy? Really?
I'll leave that there.
We should bring back Hanging for this kind of nonsense. Really?
It is an awful song. It is an awful song. But catchy.
Well, yeah, like herpes. Let's go back round the circle.
Right, all right. Now, another artist I'm going to go for. I had to have one of his in, and we're going old school here. We're going 50s.
Buddy Holly.
Not Buddy Holly, but Chuck Berry. The only one I've got to have is Johnny Be Good. He probably started out. I mean, it's probably a riff that he used another 78 times on
every other song.
Every other song, but it's similar at least. But it's just so like you say, it's almost instantly recognised as a song. Is it? Thinking about it now, Johnny Be Good. I mean, is it? Oh, is it Oh Carol? Or is it Carol? Or is it?
This is interesting because I think that depends who's doing it. Because of course, the Hendrix version of Johnny Be Good is very, very Hendrix.
Yeah. Well, this is very, very Chuck Berry, to be fair.
Yeah, it is. But what I'm saying is that riff is instantly recognisable because Hendrix doesn't do anything else like it. So when you listen to the Hendrix version, it's obviously Johnny Be Good. Whereas you listen to the Chuck Berry version, as you say, it could be
Sweet Little Rock and Roller. It could be,
Exactly. So I think that's the way it's played, not the riff.
Oh, okay. But I still love it. Johnny Be Good.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Great one.
Okay, over to you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with one which you've played a few times on your show. One of them relatively recently, but it is one of my favourite riffs of all time, and that is 7171551 by Man/Deep Leonard, which is it's an absolute Stonewall classic riff. And on. Yeah. And then it just tries. And then he comes in, can you see the sun? Can you see the sun getting higher? I'm lying where I fell, feeling like hell, getting higher. I mean, I love Man, I do, and I love Big Leonard, but this, but that track of all of theirs is the big mega riff, and in fact,
a solo artist is a solo.
Well, it's interesting because I I first heard it on Maximum Darkness, which is the Man live album from 78, the one with John Cipollina on it. And I assumed that it was a Man song, but actually it debuted on the Deep Leonard's Iceberg album that you've done.
To play the songs from the debut
played
album.
the stuff on.
Yeah.
So it's actually a Deep Leonard song. It was a Deep Leonard's Iceberg song, which then got played by Man on that particular live tour. But again, if you're talking about a classic rock riff, it ticks all of the boxes. You know, it drives the whole thing along. It's got that repetitive undercurrent to the whole song. It holds the whole thing together. And then when he goes off into the guitar solo-y bit, which is, Deep Leonard doesn't really play guitar solos. He kind of goes on a ramble. He reminds me a little bit of Neil Young in that regard, you know, kind of just goes drifting off somewhere. But it always comes back to that underneath supporting the whole thing. So I think if you're talking about riffs, then for me that's got to be in there. Yeah.
Okay, right. Now I know this next one, not a favourite band of yours, I don't think, but I love this song. I think it's a great riff. It really is. And I remember what my memories of this are sitting on a roller coaster ride in Florida or in Paris. I don't know whether it's the Rock and Roller Coaster avec Aerosmith.
Right. Okay.
And it's going to be because Walk This Way. So you have that in your headphones as you're going around this indoor roller coaster with Aerosmith blaring.
I think I have been on that. It's Euro Disney, isn't it? The Disneyland Paris.
Yeah, Disneyland Paris there's one, but it's also in Florida. I think maybe originally it might have been in. I don't know whether it was over in California as well. I'm not sure, but it's not around anymore. Rock and Roll. I think they've shut it down. Probably made it into some cartoon sort of ride or something now. But yeah, Walk This Way, Aerosmith is I think it's a great rocking tune. And when they teamed up with
Run DMC
in the mid '80s, that's when it really took off. Because I mean, Walk This Way wasn't a hit over here. I don't think it had any hits over here until the Walk This Way with Run DMC. So
that was what broke them over here, and
that's what broke them. Yeah, indeed.
They had a few hits after.
But they were around for ages, obviously, before that in the States. Aerosmith, Walk This Way riff. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good one.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go with another Welsh band. The Welsh are good at riffing. They riff well. The Welsh. They riff much better than they play rugby currently.
Okay.
Much to their annoyance. Three-piece, who we've discussed before when we did our Three Pieces podcast, and it is the gloriously named Budgie, and the riff in question is In the Grip of a Tire Fitter's Hand, which is one of the great names, along with Bread Fan, it is just it is the quintessential rock riff.
Isn't it amazing? Wouldn't it be good if, like, the next time Planet Rock do a top 25 rock riffs or riffs in general, they come up with Wishbone Ash, they come up with Deep Leonard, and they come up with Budgie and In the Grip of a Tire Fitter's Hand.
Now, actually, Budgie is usually in the top 100.
Oh, what, really? What, this one? This song?
This one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's, again, if you think about what a great rock riff is, it's a classic rock riff. As anybody listening to your show over the next 2 days will testify.
Yeah.
But again, if you listen to basically Budgie's greatest hits, which is what I've got, absolutely every single song is a very, very massive
riff-driven song.
Yeah, a riff-driven song.
Mm.
They were the riffmeisters. They kind of invented Welsh heavy metal, or Welsh, whatever you want to call it, hard rock. But in the grip of a Firefighters hand is it's a good. I mean, I really like it. I love them, but it's just a really good song, and the riff is very much a riff and one to look out for.
Right, then shall we go for a controversial one, maybe for many Americans? I don't know, many right-wing Americans, perhaps. Springsteen.
Yes. Now, I was toying with Springsteen and thinking there are a lot of Springsteen songs which I could choose. In the end, they weren't super favourites enough for me to choose them, but
That's
I could
fair
have
enough.
chosen any one of half a dozen.
All right. Well, I've chosen a couple, but I'm going to stick with one of them as in my 10. One, I've gone for Glory Days from
Good
Born
one.
in the USA.
Yeah, great song.
Which is it's a great riff. Dun, 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 dun. Actually, they used to sing the song that I have chosen, which is from The River, and is Cadillac Ranch. I don't know whether you're so familiar with it.
Well, I've got the river. That's one of the albums.
That one. They used to do that live. It used to drag on for about 7 or 8 minutes when they go across the stage with Springsteen and little Stevie and Niels Lofgren, I assume, Clarence Clemens as it was at the time with his sax, and they go. It's a lot of sax involved in. There's nothing like a bit of gratuitous sax, I always think.
Gratuitous sax and senseless violins.
Yes, that's the one. And they go across the stage and they go the other side as well. Oh, so great. But then they stop doing Cadillac Ranch and they do Glory Days and do a similar thing to that. So they're both up there as my favourites. But that was the first single I bought by Bruce Springsteen, which is Cadillac Ranch. So sort of has memories for me personally, which is why I went for that one in the end. Cadillac Ranch. South on the Finest did a cover of it, actually. Mind you, they've done a cover of it every song, I think, especially from the 90s onwards. It's just they had covers, so they couldn't write any more songs. So just a lot of covers. But Cadillac Ranch, Bruce Springsteen.
Okay, well, it is now time for me to wheel out the greatest band in history.
Yes.
I'm going to go with a yes song. Yeah. Now, as you know, and as listeners to the podcast will know, I'm a bit of a fan of yours. I have been known to wax lyrical upon the subject. Moi?
What?
Non. Sacré bleu.
Bleu.
Zut alors.
No, oui.
You like oui? Non. Anyway, right. I should have been doing it in Dutch, really, shouldn't I? After my
You should really.
Yeah. But there again, Dutch just sounds like you're spitting. So anyway,
You're going to lose me. I can't think of one with a riff in the sort of rock riff style, but I'm sure there are millions.
Well, no, there's not. You see, that's why. So Roundabout has got a kind of background riff to it, you know, that kind of introduction. But there is one which is absolutely just driven off this very, very powerful riff. And that is the opening track on the Yes album.
Which
is Yours Is No Disgrace.
Okay.
And if you think about it, right, dun 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 dun, and it repeats right the way through the song, and it's very. I love it. It was before Starship Troopers took over as my favourite song ever in all of history. Yours Is No Disgrace was the one that I latched onto when I first heard the album, because that riff is so instantaneous, and it's just one. And like all of the other ones we've mentioned, it just drills itself into your head, and once you've got it in there, it doesn't go away, and that's what a good riff should do.
I can sort of hear it in my head now, so
yeah.
it must be fairly memorable.
It is.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
No, but it is. It's it's the beginning of their golden age for me. Right. 71 to 77, and it is. it's a proper rock riff. And all right, yes, it's got the yes bits, it's got the piano, it's got the keyboard bits, and it's got a little bit of a guitar thing going on, and it's got John Anderson's voice, which doesn't really sound like it should go with a song that's got big riffs in it, but it is a big, fat, chunky riff. And it was interesting because when I was going through the list, I thought, well, that's got to be there. It was one of the first ones I wrote down. Then I thought, right, okay, Genesis and Pink Floyd. What are the big riffs there? And I couldn't think of one that matched this kind of riff. So yeah, you've got the themes. Of
Floyd,
course,
I'd go maybe Money.
yeah, well, I was going to say the nearest for Floyd would be Money for me.
Yeah.
But there wasn't anything which immediately leapt out and go, yeah, that is a great riff.
No, I'd have to think about that.
Whereas yours is no disgrace of the prog, the prog titans, even ELP. You could argue that the beginning of Pictures at an Exhibition is a riff. It's just that Mussorgsky wrote it. But there's nothing where you go, yeah, that is riffy. Whereas yours is no disgrace is a proper rock song driven off a big chunky riff. And just so happens that it's been one of my favourite bands, so even better.
Okay, makes a note. Yes, it's one of his favourite bands.
Yes.
Right, done. Yes, I've done Beatles. What should we do next? Back to me, and okay, I would approximately the same era, but a completely different style of music. Foot stamping, skinheads. Well, they were skinheads, but then they went glam with the big hats, yes, and the platform boots and the what have you. And there's a couple of riffs that stick out. They had a few.
I hadn't thought about Slade at all. What a good shout.
And the two I've gone for, the two possibilities, I've narrowed it down to one. One was Take Me Back Home. Ding, 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 was the number one in 72, but I've gone for Mama, We're All Crazy Now.
Yeah.
Which I think is my favourite Slade song.
My favourite Slade song, now I think about it, that also has a really good riff. And that is Goodbye
to Jane.
Yeah, Goodbye to Jane's always been.
That's a great riff as well. Yeah, see, I could have had that too.
Yeah, well, I'd forgotten completely about Slade, and actually, Goodbye to Jane is the Slade single that I went out and bought the day it was released. I'd heard it on the radio, loved it, went out to the shop and bought it.
Big fan. Yeah. Did you have the glitter-covered top hat that Noddy Hart would have worn?
Strangely, I despise hats.
Well, you don't like hats,
so I avoid them like the plague. If forced to wear a hat, I would be very miserable.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Noted.
No.
Right, so Slade, Mama, We're All Crazy Now.
Yeah, that's a really good shout. Yeah, good one. Okay.
To you again.
Yeah. We're flying through these.
This is good. I like it. It's hot. We can get through these quickly.
It's good. I can throw in some others at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a band who, again, mostly they deliver songs with very, very memorable riffs and hooks, or at least they certainly did while they had the original lead singer. And when the new replacement lead singer came in and they changed style, it changed the way that they structured their songs. I'm obviously talking about the Doobie Brothers.
Doobies, yeah.
And, off their greatest hits album, you could pretty well pick half of the songs. But the one I'm going to go with is...
I'm thinking, what's on there? You got things like China Grove.
China Grove is a great riff, and that I was thinking about that.
You don't count listen to the music as a kind of riff, do you? It's more like a...
Well, if you take the broader definition, then it clearly is. Because what is the hook line? In fact, ask anyone on the street about the Doobie Brothers. The song they're going to know is listen to the music, and they're going to know the riff. Even though it is
Take Me in Your Arms. So got
another great one. I mean, that's a great one.
What else is on that album?
But the one I've chosen is the one that all of the bands at university learned to play. It was their default Doobies song, Not Listen to the Music.
Not What a Fool Believes, is it? No, that isn't on that, is it?
That was much later. That was Michael McDonald era.
Yeah. I'll tell you another riff I like is Sweet Maxine. That's not on the greatest hits. That's
No,
on
it's a great riff.
Stampede, I think. Or As Is Take Me in Your Arms, actually. Ooh. I've got the greatest hits, though. I don't know. I should. No, tell me. I'll kick myself.
Long Train Running.
Oh, Long Term Running. That's what I was thinking of rather than. Yeah. It's that acoustic key, isn't it? Like, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, but it's a proper riff, and again, it drives the whole song. You know, down around the corner, half a mile from here, hear the long train running. You watch them disappear without love, etc., etc. All driven off that one very, very simple refrain. But again, as you say, you know, you could have had China Grove very easily. You could have had Take Me in Your Arms, even though it's not their song. You could have had Listen to the Music. So you know, yeah, there's a lot of good riffs in the Doobies.
Was Blackwater on that as well? It's quite a
Yes, Blackwater's on it. South City Midnight Lady.
Jesus Is Just All Right, maybe.
Jesus Is Just All Right by Me. Yeah, another great song.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean that album. If you're talking greatest hits albums, that's
a good album. It is a good one.
It's one of the best. You know, that's up there with the Eagles and you know a few of the other classics.
Right. Okay. Well, I know you're not a fan of new wave punk, and I thought I'm going to have to put something in there.
Go for it.
I could honestly have put Pretty Vacant in there.
You could have done,
but just because you don't like it, no, not because of that. But yeah, ding, 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 yeah, the intro to Pretty Vacant. I am going for The Jam, and the intro I've gone for, and I was thinking I'm going to have something for The Jam. Which one could I go for? I don't know. I mean, how many have got proper riffs that I can think of? And the one I thought and came down to picking was their first single, which is In the City, which is the ding 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 ding, which the Sex Pistols used again on their fourth single, Holidays in the Sun, which goes ding 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 ding. So In the City.
He was running out of ideas at that point. Let's just recycle something we've done before.
Just written. No, it was Sex Pistols. The second song, Holidays in the Sun. The Jam single was In the City earlier on in '77, and it was on their debut album as well, In the City. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. It's a great riff, and it sort of carries on through. As do a lot of these riffs all the way through the song, and it finishes on the riff.
That's the point of the riff.
At the end,
the whole point of the riff is that they follow through the song and they drive what's going on around it. You know, the riff is supposed to anchor everything else. You know, when all the noodling is done, you come back to that basic riff. And for me, that's what a really good riff does. It kind of holds.
I think that's a great riff anyway. In the City, The Jam.
It is.
On to you.
Okay, I am going to go with a band who I saw live in Victoria Park at the High Voltage Festival in 2010. Well, I've never seen them live before, but off the strength of seeing them then, I bought their live album, which is broadly regarded as one of the great live albums of all time, maybe even top 10 great live albums of all time. They are an East London band originally, and it is UFO.
Oh, okay.
And the song, which, I mean, again, all of their songs are a riff fest. Driven by what's the bass player Pete? Yes, I can never remember his name, but he's a genius. Cool. Anyway, is it Pete Way? Anyway, I'll come back to it.
Look it up while you're.
Anyway, of the loads of songs of theirs that I could have chosen, I've gone with "Lights Out for London," which is for me, the standout track on the live album. Probably is my favourite thing that they've done. And again, it starts with that, da, 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 and it drives the whole thing along off this brilliant absolute classic rock riff. Could have gone for Doctor Doctor, which is equally brilliant, but I think on
That's
balance,
what I thought you were going to go for.
Lights Out is
Pete
the
Way. Pete Way.
Pete Way. That's what. I
That's
think
what. Yeah, Pete Way, the bass guy.
Yeah, Pete Way. Yeah, so he's a brilliant guitar. He's a brilliant bassist. So if you listen to UFO and you listen to the drums and Pete Way's bass, and then the way that they use the riffs to construct the songs, and that live album, there is not a duff track on it. It's brilliant. But Lights Out is the highlight.
I had a lot of live albums looking at this.
Well, they have, but Strangers in the Night is the classic.
It's the big one.
Yeah, that's the one that everybody.
Right now, oddly, you mentioning high voltage links lovely. Links very well. Links lovely. Links very well to my next one. Now, we mentioned AC/DC earlier on, and I had to pick one of theirs. I didn't pick Back in Black. I didn't pick Thunderstruck. The two I narrowed it down to is Long Way to the Top, if you want to rock and roll.
Good one.
I've gone for High Voltage, which was their first album.
You can't argue with.
Can't argue with that. I got that as the first album I got by them. It was their first album released internationally. I think it was a combination of the first two albums. Was it TNT and another one I can't remember.
So what was that? Power Age?
What, the album? No, it was called High Voltage.
Oh, it was called High Voltage, right?
Yeah, it's called High Voltage. I think there was an original High Voltage and there was another one called TNT. But then the first international album, a different cover. I got one of the original covers, I think, on my vinyl. It was called High Voltage, and it's got on it, Can I Sit Next to You, Girl, High Voltage, Big Balls. She's got the Jack, and
lots of subtlety.
Rock and roll singer.
Lots of subtlety.
Definitely lots of.
You always associate AC/DC with subtlety.
You do. They don't have any sexual innuendos in their song titles at all.
I think what I admire about AC/DC is how they've steered clear of all of that kind of nonsense.
Yeah, you wouldn't get them. I'm surprised they haven't had a single called Big Knob or something. I mean, that'll be they might as well just do it. I played a song by them today, Big Gun, and I was thinking, and I said on air this morning, for once they haven't got a sexual innuendo, but I think, Big Gun.
They probably have, actually. Yeah.
They definitely have. Right, so High Voltage, AC, Akadaka, as you call them. Akadaka, yeah. Oh, I had All Right Now as well on my list, so that's on my 10. So that's okay. We're whizzing through these. What you got next?
Well, I've now got three that are all relatively modern. When I say relatively modern, I mean in the last 20 years, or 25 years. I had trouble choosing this one because the gentleman in question, who is a outstanding guitarist, who my brother and I have seen live together several times, he doesn't half know how to do a good riff, and we're talking Joe Bonamassa.
Joe Bonamassa.
Mountain Climbing is a great song and has got a classic Bonamassa riff on it. It's it's classic Joe Bonamassa. But on balance, the one I've gone with is Bridge to Better Days, which is the opening track on his Live from Nowhere in particular album, which I've got 2 or 3 of his live albums, but it's my favorite one. And it's a real it's a real classic rock riff that he's a blues guitarist and he's a virtuoso blues guitarist, but a lot of his songs, which are the up-tempo ones, are real classic blues rockers and could have been written in the 70s or the late 60s or whatever. And he would have been very at home playing with UFO. He'd have been very at home playing with anybody because he's so good. But Bridge to Better Days, which I'll choose tomorrow, is one of those ones where you listen to it and you go, boy, is that a riff. It's one of those ones which grabs you as soon as you've heard it for the first time. You can't get it out of your head, and for me, that's what a good riff does. A good riff, it's an earworm, and once it's in there, it's very difficult to get out. And as I say, I could have chosen half a dozen of his songs, but I listened to quite a bit over the weekend on Saturday while I was preparing for this. And I thought, well, okay, gun to the head, which one am I going to go for? And I thought, yeah, Bridge to Better Days is I think, the one. So I think you will listen to it and
get
go,
that one. Yeah,
that is a riff. That is a serious riff.
They can be earworms, as you say, but not always a good sign, is it? Because you can have a really
quite.
awful
I mean,
one.
another one
Like
bites
another
dust.
one bites
Big
dust.
classic example. Yes.
Or even, do you think I'm sexy? I don't really think there's a riff. Well, sort of is a riff. That reminds me a bit of the Final Countdown by Europe.
Well, now you see, I nearly chose the Final Countdown because if you want a riff, then that's a riff. You know?
Yeah,
I mean, it really is, and you certainly remember it. You just remember how much you don't like it.
No, that's true. Well, if you put as you said, if you put a gun to my head and I had to choose between, do you think I'm sexy or another one bites the dust? I think I would shoot myself. I think that's probably the best thing. Right, next one up for me. Then I'm whizzing through mine. I don't know how many you've got there.
I've got another two left.
All right, okay, because I think I've only got another one because of All Right Now that was thrown in. I'm going to put in a Creedence song, another one of my favourite bands. They had some great hits. And the one I plumped for is Up Around the Bend.
Yes. Again, a classic introductory riff.
Classic introductory riff that carries on as well through the song. And holds the song together. John Fogerty, who's also at Glastonbury this weekend, I believe.
Is he really?
Yeah. Did you know Neil Young was there?
No.
Yeah, he's at Glastonbury.
My friend Lorraine, who we're working with on this project for the Golf CDC, she's gone to Glastonbury this weekend. She's a massive music fan. And I was thinking, well, you're going to be upset because he's going to be bloody Jay-Z and all this shite. But I didn't realise
there's no Jay-Z.
I didn't realise there was proper bands on.
There are proper bands, and you might hear some of them tomorrow, actually. Although there might be some crud in there as well. Just trying to see what they're like on Saturday. Neil Young and the Chrome Hearts are headlining.
Yes, that's his new band.
They're headlining. That's his
new band. Yeah.
But on Friday, you've got the 1975, Biffy Clyro, Alanis Morissette. I'm picking out the
Morissette and Biffy Clyro, right?
Yeah. Saturday. Supergrass are on Friday as well. Neil Young on the Saturday. John Fogerty's on the Saturday. Who else we got? Gary Newman. Kaiser Chiefs. Yeah. Nick Lowe.
Well, that wouldn't be too awful. Who's on Sunday?
Sunday, you've got Olivia Rodrigo. That's the latest thing, isn't it? Rod Stewart, supposedly, but he's meant to be ill. The Prodigy, which I can definitely do without. Chic. There's a few on there. They'll be on TV, won't they? The Libertines. So you can watch some of it on TV.
Sunday sounds like one to miss, but Saturday sounds like it might be quite good fun.
There's a few there, and they might spread it out for you too. Yeah. Right. So
that was CCR. That was CCR.
CCR, yeah. So Unit.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, you was on there. Okay. Well, I'm going with the bands that supported AC/DC when we saw them last year.
Pretty Reckless. I wouldn't know which song, though. I wouldn't know which song.
Pretty Reckless, and the one I've chosen is Death by Rock and Roll, which is, I mean, again, quite a lot of their songs are based around good riffs, but they're interesting because they kind of use them differently. So they always have the riff at the beginning, but it kind of comes in off the back of a very different kind of introduction, and then the riff kicks in. So it's not like Status Quo or AC/DC or whatever. But Death by Rock and Roll is one of my favourite songs of theirs anyway. And
did they sing it at Wembley?
Yes, they did. Yes.
And could we hear it? I don't know, the sound wasn't great back there, was it? It wasn't
No, it
brilliant.
wasn't. Yeah, we could. On my tombstone, when I go, just put "Death by Rock and Roll." It's a really, I shall choose it tomorrow. It's a really good, riff,
And
and
I love Taylor Momsen. Is it Taylor Momsen?
it is Taylor Momsen, indeed.
Yeah. Okay.
He's not quite the little girl she was in Shrek, and not Shrek, the Grinch that stole Christmas.
Grinch, yeah.
But yeah, Death by Rock and Roll is well, when you hear it tomorrow, it's very much a proper rock riff. So that was my
9:20. You might as well get to the last one then. If you've got another
well,
one, yeah.
yeah, my last one, I had to throw in something by Nightwish, so I went with one of their very early songs, which again, it was funny because I was talking to someone online. Oh, it was a few years ago now, and we just ended up talking about. I can't even remember when it was now, but we ended up talking about music, and they mentioned that they were listening to something. Oh, what are you listening to? And they went, Nightwish. I said, oh, I quite like them. This was before I became a big fan. I said, what are you listening to? And they said, oh, Amaranth. And I played it, and I thought, oh, this is a really good song. And that was kind of what got me into them, really. So Amaranth is the song. And actually, there's a very, very good version of it by The Big Deal, who do the great version of Gimme, Gimme,
Gimme.
So they do Gimme, Gimme, Gimme. They do Amaranth, the Nightwish song, and they do one of the Europe songs, but not the Final Countdown. The Rock Off Court, the title is now their other big hit.
There was an album that came out. I played a track from it because someone requested it. Actually, I don't know whether you know a band called the Wandering Hearts. They're like a bit
heard of them.
folky country Americana. They're British. And they had a new, I think it was out last week, and the album's called Deja Vu brackets, and we've been here before or something like that.
Right.
And it's a complete reworking of the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young album.
Oh, really?
Yes. So
that sounds really interesting.
You might want to have a listen to that. I played Woodstock, which was an interesting take.
Yeah. I'll be interested in what their take on Carry On is, because that's one of my favourite songs. Anyway, so Amaranth is pre-Floor, it's pre-Annette Olson, it's the original singer Tarrier. It's just got a really good riff that starts. It's one of those songs where you hear it, you know instantly what it is, and when you hear it played live, so on the Decades album, which I've got, and the DVD. As soon as the first little bit comes in, there's this little tiny little kind of organ introduction, which and you go, right, that's Amaranth, and then it comes crashing in with the entire kitchen sink of music, but into this massive chunky riff, which again then drives the rest of the song. So I like it because it's well constructed. It was really their first big hit, in as much as they have hits. It's the one that everybody knew prior to Ghost Love Score. So
I don't think anyone that has big hits these days, do they? I think it's all like short stay.
But I think
singers.
Their first album was 96. I think Amaranth came out in 98 or 99. So for them, it's kind of, it's early. But anyway, so that's the last of my.
That's your last one. Okay, we've got a little bit of time. We can just throw in some others off the back of all of that. I did mention earlier on, and it was on my list. I suppose it must have been 10th or 12th on the list. But School's Out.
Yes, good
Alice
one.
Cooper.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. That's such a good riff. I'm trying to think if there's another. No More Mr. Nice Guy's got a decent riff as well.
Well, a lot of Alice Cooper. There's a lot of Alice Cooper stuff.
Yeah, I expect they have. Another one from the 70s I've got is I Get It On, T-Rex.
Oh gosh, I hadn't even thought about them. Yeah,
right. And also brackets I've written here. Also, it was one of the great opening riffs of a song. It's explosive. It's 20th Century Boy. The way it just comes in. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, good
It's
shout.
a great entry into a song. So Get It On, stroke 20th Century Boy. I mean, throw in any of yours you got as well.
Well,
I mean,
the
Sunshine
one,
of Your Love should be there, shouldn't it? Cream.
what should?
Sunshine of Your Love should.
Yes, yeah. That was a miss.
Yeah.
What about Ziggy?
From
Well,
Ziggy.
yeah.
Well, probably I'd plump for.
Well, you choose Suffragette City, presumably.
Yeah, Suffragette City is the one you think has been a real riff, but I'm also
But
thinking of the Gene Genie, which came out later on, which was
yes,
actually on the Nathan's name.
yeah. That's got
Yeah.
that's got the drift.
It's a
But
great. He
again,
did do a few
if you
good riffs.
if you got Ziggy, again, it's instantly recognisable, isn't it? That I think the whole
Oh, you
thing
mean
with
the actual song Ziggy Stardust?
yes, Ziggy
Oh,
Stardust.
right.
Yes.
Sorry, I was thinking it's
Yeah.
talking about the
No,
album.
no.
Oh,
I was thinking the actual song.
the actual song Ziggy Stardust. Yeah. I know. I'm with you there. Yeah. But,
Yeah, I
you
think
can have a memorable acoustic start, like Starman's got a memorable. That's the one you think, oh yeah, that's Starman coming in, but
yeah.
it's not like a real catchy riff type
No, it's not, but
electric.
again, it's like these. If they're talking about jazz and things, it's one of those repetitive introductory phrases that hooks you into the song.
I'm getting through
The other thing I
more
was
drinks of water today. I know it's the heat, or in fact, I'm singing too much.
well, yeah, cool with that.
Bit both.
The other thing I was thinking was kind of like the old bluesmen, some of the old typical blues stuff. So like Crossroads, for example,
Yeah,
and things like Smokestack Lightning. So
yeah.
some of those really early, Howlin' Wolf and Robert Johnson, T-Bone Burnett and people like that, they all have those kind of bluesy riff based songs as well. So
I'm just thinking, you're talking about Smokestack Lightning, or I don't know, like the Manish Boy type stuff.
yeah, Manish Boy.
They're the great riffs. I was thinking of the Dr. Feelgood song,
Down at the
Robert Cell
Doctors.
Block number 9. Like,
Right, Down at the Doctors.
yeah, that one. Good. Talking of Bowie, although I don't like Bowie's version of it so much, as we said, I love the riff, the intro riff to All the Young Dudes, Not the Hoople. Again,
Yes.
instantly recognisable. There's
Yeah,
just so many of them. I'm thinking Dire Straits. Now, what about Dire Straits? What about a riff that people might recognise would be maybe Money for Nothing? Off of
yeah, good
Brothers in
shout.
Arms.
Yeah, good shout.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other Dire Straits riffs that it could be.
Actually, now thinking about it, the other one, which is in, I think it's Rolling Stone or one of the American magazines, their riffs, which it's got Smoke on the Water, it's got Paranoid, it's got Can't Get No Satisfaction, Sweet Child of Mine, but number one it's not I can't remember what it was now. No, was it number one? No, Smoke on the Water was number one. Anyway, top 5 was Nirvana.
Oh, Smells Like yeah, that's one I got written down here. Smells
Smells
Like
like
Teen
Teen Spirit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which is very definitely a riff.
Can't argue with that. And talking of Americans, another. I don't know whether you're that keen on the Red Hot Chili Peppers, eh?
No, I don't like them at all. In
Oh,
fact,
okay. So
I
I
really
can't
annoy
stop. I was thinking of
yeah, the
that
thing
one.
about the Red Hot Chili Peppers is that I wish people had not called them a rock band because they really aren't, are they? They're kind of
Well, you mean like Queen? You're going to say
well,
that they're liked by people that don't normally like rock music. You mean? Is
yeah,
that
pretty
right?
well. Yeah.
All right.
And also, I don't like them as people. I don't like their whole persona thing. I'm not a fan.
Pretty Vacant. I did mention earlier on. I
Yeah.
could mention that. I've mentioned it twice now. That will annoy you. A Thin Lizzy.
Yeah, I thought about Thin Lizzy. There's quite a few.
Jailbreak.
Yeah, Jailbreak.
Jailbreak.
Yeah.
And here's another one for you. A bit, I think you might have mentioned them earlier on in passing. But this is a real sort of funky bluesy band, British band, and it's called Couldn't Get It Right, Climax Blues Band.
I suppose, mate. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, good shout.
Ought to Be Wild. I was surprised wasn't in your long list of
I'd forgotten about
frequent
that.
one, Steppenwolf. And a more recent one that's sung on all the football stands and terraces. And we still do, I think, I'm sure. Moussa Dembele had the song for a start, but I'm sure someone else has. Anyone with 5 syllables in their name. It's Seven Nation Army, White Stripes.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. That one.
Yeah.
And, I've got loads more I could mention. Have you got any more you want to throw in?
No, there was one that came into my mind and it's now dropped out again, but that's probably because I've been running around airports all day. So
No worries, no worries. What was the other one I could mention? Rod. Have you mentioned Rod Stewart? Some of his
No.
I mean, I would say one of my favourites of his songs actually generally is "You Wear It Well," which has got that sort of nice intro to it, acoustic nonetheless, but it's still a riff, as you say. House of the Rising Sun.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
Ding, ding, ding.
that's very definitely.
Message in a Bottle. You think that's quite a memorable riff as well? That at the start, no?
I guess so.
And one you might have mentioned, Barracuda.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah, Barracuda, good one. Yeah, and that at all.
What else I've written? I've written Money, Pink Floyd. I've written Ace of Spades.
Yeah,
Another band that you're not keen on, I know, but it's got a memorable kind of riff.
it has.
And what about Beat It, Michael Jackson?
Yes, good one. Yeah.
Smells Like Teen Spirit. I got down Lagrange as ZZ Top.
ZZ Top, yeah.
And what about Black Betty? Do you count that?
Yeah.
Oh, so many songs have got riffs in. See, I love the riff at the start. I didn't mention for the Beatles, but Twist and Shout, memorable riff at the start.
Well, I tell you another one. One hit wonder. Inside by Stiltskin.
Yeah, true. Played that the other day as well, actually. In fact, I played it today. I think in the afternoon delights, because they did songs from commercials, and I had half of them in, and that was one Stiltskin, and so many songs that have been featured in commercials, unbelievable. I'm sure Metallica had one.
Well, now I was thinking about
whether Enter Sandman.
Enter Sandman. I was thinking, should there be a Metallica one in there? And I was thinking it's either got to be Master of Puppets or Enter Sandman, probably Enter Sandman. But then again, I'm not a huge Metallica fan. So
no, I know. I'm picking all these bands that you don't like. I've also plumped for American Woman by Guess Who.
Yeah, good song. That's a good riff. Yeah.
And a couple more maybe. BTO, Back in the Turn Overdrive. I've got Taking Care of Business. Very Quo-like, really, though. I mean, it's just that riff.
I was thinking about those big American bands and thinking, Hold the Line.
Yeah, Toto.
By Toto.
A Journey or any of those?
I mean, yeah.
And you're saying the riff can be on a piano, it can be on a guitar, it can be. Can it be a vocal? Why not? It can't be a vocal.
Well, I suppose in theory, yes. But
I'm thinking of Kansas, Carry On the Wayward Son.
Yeah.
That starts
does that riff carry through the whole song? Yes, I guess it does. So yeah, maybe it can. But does that mean that John Bonham's beginning of When the Levee Breaks, does that count? Because that then drives the whole song.
I'll tell you what, talking to Led Zeppelin, also on Physical Graffiti, one I love, a very simple little boogie. That's
Boogie with Stew.
Boogie with Stew. And that goes through the whole song.
It does.
Yeah. It's just right up my Strasse.
Yeah, no, it's a great song. Yeah.
Right up my Strasse. I think we've got rid of so many of them there.
I think we have.
There are two on my left side here. Two more. I've got one by the Black Crows. So I might have to play it at some point. Jealous Again. And also Ash, the Northern Irish band Ash, and single Shining Light. I just love the intro riff to that, and it does tend to carry on through. But that's it. Shall we end it there? It's getting hot.
All right. Yeah.
I think we've done it all. I think
We
we've
have.
covered a billion riffs, nearly.
We have.
Nearly, at least a million anyway, I'm sure.
And, yeah, we've riffed our way into the night.
We have riffed our way through. We've got the definition of a riff, and we've got some good examples of riffs, and many of which might be featured on the radio show over the next coming 2 days. So I'm back on CBW Radio tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., 3 a.m. Eastern, if you're up. In the meantime, this podcast, thank you very much, Stinky Pete. This podcast will be posted by Shaggy to the usual places over the coming days. Spotify being the big one, but I know Jazzy Jeff uses Apple Podcasts, I think it is. It's there as well. Anywhere where you get your podcasts, it'll be. We have been streaming live to X and to YouTube and to Facebook on the Off the Record Facebook page. It will be forever on the cbwradio.com website. Facebook tend to delete them after 2 or 3 weeks nowadays, so they won't be on there forever. So make the most of them. They'll be on Spotify forever. So in the meantime, that is it. Nothing next week. That's the end of the series. We haven't got any major cliffhangers. I'm not going to say, oh, by the way, Stinky Pete, you're my father.
I'm getting attacked by monsters.
No. So
there are no cliffhangers.
No cliffhangers.
We'll be back with another subject at some point.
Another subject. Series 7 in a couple of weeks' time. We'll work out what that's going to be. I shall be in sunny Latvia next week for the week for my son's wedding. What else is to say other than one day we will be on
the BBC.
The BBC, perhaps. And it's apart from that, it's good night from me.
It's a good night from him.